Welcome back to another episode here on the Hard Hustle Podcast. We got Mr. Gene Hardin in the building. Mr. Gene, where are you located, man?
We are in Stockton, California.
All right, born and raised.
No, been in Stockton about 36 years of my life, so longer than anywhere else in my life. But yeah,
I'm 36
that's
years old, so when I was a little baby, you moved over there.
yeah,
That's a,
1989.
that's a long time, man. What brought you over there?
Well, there was kind of a pull because of my working through college in broadcast journalism, and so I kind of wanted to be on the coast, and had some family that was living out here at the time, and had a my first wife, and I decided that was the place to be, and so we moved to Stockton. We kind of never looked back. So.
Love it. So you started in broadcast and journalism, but that's not where you're at today, are you?
No, not a lot of production work behind my belt, like TV production, radio production, stuff like that, stage production, all kinds of gigs like that. But usually always behind the scenes more than in front of the camera, even though that's what I studied to do. And that segued me into kind of a marketing role into pretty much what I do today. But
Love it.
yeah,
And you're at
yeah.
Children's Home of Stockton. What is your current role?
So at Children's Home, I am the community engagement director, and basically I facilitate, what it says,
Yeah.
engaging the community in what we do.
And Gene, what makes you go from TV productions, all this entertainment world to say, you know what, I want to do more passion, purposeful work? Because when you get into an organization, it's not about the paychecks. There's truly a passion and purpose to it. Why?
Yeah, yeah. I think that I think honestly, there's something in you. You're in your 30s now, and I think that honestly, I use this term or this kind of time frame for a lot of people I talk to. It's once you reach your 30s, you're kind of thinking about how there's maybe more to life than just you. I
Hmm.
think there needs to be that ego and kind of self-driven thing when we're in our 20s, because that's kind of how we propel ourselves. But then we start looking around and going, wait a minute, there's more here. Maybe we can give back. So I think that was kind of the first mindset, was to say, okay, maybe I don't make $1 bazillion, but there's other things here that I'm passionate about. So
Love it. And I'm always a big believer that everything in our lives teaches us something for the next chapter. You talk about the production part of it and all these different things you were doing. What is that teaching you that leads you to here that you're utilizing in talent wise?
yeah, that's a great question, because and I really genuinely love to talk about that, because I think there's a lot of times that in the nonprofit world, we approach things, and I'm talking about all nonprofits. I don't care how big or small you are, but we tend to approach things in an apologetic way, whether that's asking for money, or our marketing approach, or our production quality, or our level of excellence. And I thought that based on my background and my skills and my knowledge, I could bring that to the table to help elevate excellence in what we did through marketing, video production, posting, social media, all the things. So yeah, that's why, to help raise a level of quality and excellence in everything that we do, because the technical term is that we are not for profit businesses.
Hmm.
We're not necessarily charities. So
Yeah. I love that you said that because they are completely businesses. And I've taken over organizations where people sit on a board and just think, it's a nonprofit. Yeah, it's a
right.
business as well. Like we still
Yeah.
have to make sure there's money coming in various ways, whether is that is asking for money, whether that is events, storytelling aspects of it. I'm actually intrigued, man, because you have the background of storytelling. So you're really telling stories. How different is it to tell stories at the level that you're doing to now doing more tugging at the heart and really kind of showcasing what programs and what people where their money is going? Like, is there a difference?
Well, is there a difference? Wow, that's a really good question. I don't know if there's a difference, because I work in a world where, we do our best to make connections. If you're in that for-profit sector and you're with a board, or you're an organization, or you're a shareholder, you're always thinking about the ROI. What's the return on my investment, right? Well, donors to a nonprofit are no different. And so if you can connect the dots with, hey, we're donating money to this local organization in hopes that we're doing something good. we have the ability to turn around and tell the story of that something good or those outcomes and show them in a way. So it's kind of twofold. Yes, we want to tug at heartstrings, but you don't want to do it over emotionally so that you're, you know, uh, pandering in a way, I guess. I don't want to
Mhm.
be negative about that, but you don't want to be that way, right? You want to tell the truth and you want to tell the story and you do want to pull on the emotions. You want to back it up with the data, but that's connecting the dots for me, and impact storytelling is what we do.
Yeah. I think communication has become so different. The way that we also receive messaging. I can imagine you thought about that. People are receiving messages now via social. The number one form of communication these days is SMS. We talk about TikTok. We talk about Instagram, really meeting people where they're at. Are you tapping into that market? Or, I run an organization. It's just funny to even think about it, but I'm always yelling with these people because, now I want to say yelling, but arguing because they're like, "Hey, we got to send letters out to people's houses." I'm like, I get it. There is a generation that may want that, but we're in a whole new time right now. Like, we don't need to send letters out. Where's your mind at, Gene, with all this?
Another great question. I think, okay, so, I said back in the day, but just a few years ago, we were focused on SEO, search engine optimization. And now AI plays such a role in that and how we, collect our data and figure out paths. And it really is just kind of it's kind of a, it's been an enigma and a mystery. But I believe what stands true is that attention span wanes, and you have to be cognizant of that. At the same time, you still have the donors and the people, your audiences of old. So you still have a section out here who believe they've come into the technological world, and I'll just call them Facebook users. And so they have a Facebook page, and so they get their information and they think
Yeah.
that's a very up to date way of doing it. And then you have, I'll call them the Patreon crowd. I don't necessarily like to generationalize certain things, but I'll call them that. And that attention span, we know from studies, just even from 2020, the attention span now has reduced down to 7.5 seconds. Um, National average little study that was put out by somebody. 7.5 seconds I have to get your attention and tell you what I want to tell you, and then I hope that I got your attention and that you care about what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a
Tough.
different landscape now,
Yeah. You
for
you
sure.
mentioned 2 things that I would love for you to tap into, and I don't know if you're how, deep you're into it. Data, it's important, right, in an organization, but you also mentioned AI. So many people that are scared of AI, especially in the nonprofit world. Where are you guys at with AI and data? How important is data?
I have to thank we have a wonderful IT company, managed service IT company that really takes good care of us. And they're great on the education side. I appreciate what they try to do in helping us. I always call it seeing around the corner, what you pay good IT people to do.
Yeah.
Because in this world where we don't know what we don't know, I really hate that phrase, but it's true.
It
And
is, 100%.
you look at AI and you go, I need guidance. I need somebody here to tell me some things. And so they've been really good in telling us how we need to use it, but use it cautiously. Whether that's a paid service with ChatGPT or whatever one you use,
Mhm.
Claude or whatever. But even within the walls of your own business, particularly we use all Microsoft products, so it's we have a business license agreement with Microsoft, and when you use their AI, you're protecting your data, and that's really my point. So yes, do you need to be afraid of that? Yes. Do you need to be cautious and all the things? Absolutely. You want to. I equate it to like tradecraft. You want to make sure your data, your things are protected, because when you do a search on the free Chat GPT, you're doing that's going out there to everyone. So, uh, i- do I say use it? Sure, use it with caution.
And because we're talking about data, let's talk about that data, man. How many people are you guys serving? How many programs does a children home have?
So we have a unique kind of track system here. We have one program that is a state mandated program, also regulated federally, and that is called a short term residential therapeutic program, or STRTP. STRTPs are found all over the country. This is the new guidance since about 2018 to regulate what used to be called group homes. So at one point we were at a 54 bed situation, and that got regulated and re-regulated over the years since 2018 to now you can't have more than 16 beds in a facility. Otherwise, you're designated as what's called an IMD, or an institution for mental disease, like a hospital, lockdown facility, all the things that surround that. So we are in that track that is 16 beds. We have another more outward facing program called Catalyst, which is a program for transitional age youth, 18 to 25-year olds who are at risk of homelessness. And that is a not regulated. It's regulated, but it's more fundraising, how we fund that. And so we're not regulated by the state in how the funds are spent. And so it gives us a little bit more freedom. And that's a more of a self-referral program for that age group of young adults, and it's been a very successful. That currently is 18 beds. So altogether, we're serving 34. Um, Foster youth, the STRTP track is 12 to 18-year-old foster youth girls. The 18 to 25-year-olds is a co-ed population.
Love it, man. And what have you learned being in the space? Because this was also new for you, right? You weren't in the space of helping this type of audience, was it?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. It's there's a little bit of a segue there. Friend, because so here's how it works. I was in the world of child abuse prevention, and was definitely in that 0 to 5 arena of kids, but all ages, minors, right? And so when you look at that and you realize that there's so many contributing factors to abuse and neglect and trafficking and all the things, that did segue pretty readily, because the population that we serve of the 12 to 18-year-old foster youth girls is a very high acuity. It's a meaning it's they are victims of severe abuse, sex trafficking. Sorry, it's called technically CSEC, commercial sexual exploitation of children. But it's so yeah, it wasn't that wasn't too hard of a transition. Still in child welfare, if you will.
And why is this work important? Like being in the space of, I would say, helping the next generation, right? Fertilizing the future. I think it is very, I see why it's important. But for those that are listening, why is it so
Yeah.
important to you?
Yeah, it's important to me because we always make the kind of reference that we wish that we could work ourselves out of a job. This is always going to be a need, unfortunately. Abuse and neglect, just, it just exists. And um, I I wish that wasn't the case, but I feel like you do your part with your talents and skills and abilities that you bring to the table, and hopefully your teammates come along to that same table with their talent, skills, and abilities, and we can eradicate today what we can eradicate. Knowing somewhere out there it's always going to be a problem. Wish it wasn't going to be a problem. Wish we
Mm,
could really eradicate it, but yeah.
yeah.
So
No, I love it. It's putting your money where your mouth is. I speak to board members all the time, and it's like because of the leader you are, people would actually follow, right? What you're doing. Put. I have a board member. He says, "Efrain, I want to donate this, but I don't want my name to be a part of it. What do you think
mm,
about it?" And I
mm,
said, "No, I think your name should be a part of it because so many people show up for events and things that you do because you show up. So just imagine when someone knows that you donated $1,000 and $5,000. People are going to donate because that's just what how we're kind of wired to do, right? So those friends that are want to up one up you, guess what they're going to do? They're going to also donate.
yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
"Oh, I didn't think about that." I'm like, "Yeah, man, like you hold so much influence, and sometimes we don't know because we just do the work." And that's just a good leader in us. But Gene, I say the good leader, and I bring us to good leader because clearly that is you. But there were people that were pouring into you before you got became this good leader. Do you remember any of those things that people were saying to you as you were going through all these different chapters of your life that you still resonate with? Leadership, I guess, skills that someone told you.
yeah, yeah. I think one gentleman that was I would consider him a mentor. He has since passed, but he forced me to do things beyond my comfort zone, right? And I remember him showing me a diagram a long time ago, a picture. It wasn't a diagram, but it said, you know, had a little bubble and it said, "This is your comfort zone right here." And out here, it said, "This is where the magic happens."
Yeah.
All the stuff out here. And I remember that, you know, I remember that he would force me to read. I wasn't a voracious reader, and he would force me to read leadership books and different things. Um, but you know, it's people like that that want to build into the younger generation. I think we all, and no matter your age, I think you can be a mentor. I think you can be a mentee. You should be. The older you get, believe me, because there's a
Yeah.
lot more that I realize I don't know. But yeah, just being able to stand on the shoulders of people who came before, um, super important. Trust in that, you know, learn from that, and that's where I was.
So what are you telling other young leaders that are coming up through this pipeline? What is your messages to them?
My message is you have influence. You have more influence than you maybe think you do. You know, you mentioned that age gap. You were talking about the 26-year-old earlier. We were having that conversation that versus you being 36, and it's almost a Venn diagram if you look at kind of our age groups. And I always look at this. Somebody shared this with me, and I'm going to share it with you. The theory is that you have influence 10 years ahead of you and 10 years behind you, and it's a good and somewhere in the middle is that sweet spot, right, where you have your peers and you truly have influence and you dialogue and you build off of each other and you, to use that term, you riff off each other and do the cool things, right? But that influence to reach back, but it's not just to teach, it's to learn from that younger generation as well. I
Yeah.
have to say that's really where I am in my life. There's a gentleman that I meet with who's a COO of another organization, and we used to work together a long time ago, and he's younger than me quite a bit. And I said to him the other day at lunch, I said, "Hey, man, I genuinely want to learn who you're reaching and who you're touching because I'm still in the game and I need to know how to do that." Right.
Yeah.
And he said back to me, "And I need your experience." And I
Yeah.
said, That's how we balance."
I met someone like that, and it's always weird because I was like, "What can I give you?" But this is a 61-year-old that worked at a hospital, about to retire,
Mm,
wants to do the passion and purpose work. And he says, "Efrain, like as I'm winding down here, I really want to understand nonprofits more. Like I sit on the board, but I'm not really understanding." One thing he wants to do is start to share stories, right? And
yeah.
smart because that's what we're in the business of telling stories, I would say, in the nonprofit. So he's asking like, "Efrain, how do I do this?" And he's asking me here, and I'm like, "Sir, I'm here trying to learn from you, but it
Yeah.
is true. We learn from one another. There's strengths that I have and there's strengths that he has, and how we put those together because we're not the smartest in the room and we can't do it all. And I think when you have a team of people that have that same passion and the same just beliefs and mission, and maybe you guys don't know everything, you guys are truly going to learn from one another while you guys are really just getting it done. So it is. I'm at that space right now, man. Sometimes I feel the imposter syndrome, like, what the hell am I doing in these rooms?
Right.
Um,
It is like that. I get it. I get it.
but realizing, man, that someone said this to me earlier. He says, "Efrain, you have to get comfortable because you are the next generation in those rooms, and we need you, right?" And when people say that to me, I'm like, what do you need from me that you don't have? But it is, we're all very different. Times are different. The way we communicate, technology. Actually, he was saying, Efrain, I'm not really good with Google Calendar because I've used Microsoft my whole career. And I know you use Google and you use Google Drives and all this. I need that class. And the same thing for my board is like I've created this portal with data and all that. And then I go tell them to do something in Google Drive and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, having to teach someone Google Drive to me is basic. But
Yeah.
if you don't, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So that is
There it is.
as much as you mentioned earlier, as much as so cringe to say, it is truly real. Like you don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know.
Until we
So
come up with another term, that's the term.
that's the term, man. That's the term. No, man, this is really cool just to be able to riff off of this. So, Gene, what are some of the things that you and the level that you're at that you're wanting to see within the organization to continue to scale?
You know, wow, that's a really good one. I think that what would I like to see? Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I have a very forward-thinking CEO. She's very dynamic. For 24 years prior to being here, she led another organization. Women's Center of San Joaquin. It's now called Prevail. And then she came over to Children's Home about 10 years ago. And she's forward thinking, she's progressive. And so it's easy to get behind a leader like that. And be able to, so what I want to see is that continued vein of leadership. You just touched on it. We're not going to be around forever, and we need that next generation, and we need to show them that there's space. um, there's space and room for those ideas. How do we innovate not only in our marketing and our approaches, but how do we innovate in the care that we give? um, that's that's what I'd like to continue to see, I guess. That
Copy. And for if we could just drop a nugget, you're in the space of communications. What is one thing that people underutilize that actually works that you've noticed without giving all your secrets away?
No, I don't have secrets. So no, it's good, man. If it helps somebody else, let's get after it. That's a good flag for peer groups, by the way. Um, what's underutilized? Honestly, the handshake and the coffee and the lunch here and there. Just simply saying, I've gotten more mileage out of speaking with some of our donors and board members and saying, hey, why don't we grab some coffee? Or hey, why don't you come over for a tour?
Hmm.
And that really gets a lot of mileage. And I know you probably thought I was going to say something in technology. It's there and it's available and it's effective. But the personal touch, and I will say this, since the pandemic, I think it's super important.
Yeah, I was actually watching something earlier. It's like if you're not going to the office, you're missing out. Like, people want to see the work ethic. People wanna see the person staying longer. Like, if you want that opportunity, it's hard to see when you're at home and we don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So no, I do agree. I as much as I love the virtual, because here we are, right, virtually having a conversation, I can
Yeah.
imagine the energy is very different in person because we get to feel each other. We get to really feel the energy of one another. So I'm a big believer in that. Yeah, let's have a cup of coffee. Not everyone is good virtual. People are better in person.
It's a part of that too, Efrain, is that you get to share more of that impact. If it's a board member that I'm talking to, it's like, hey, did you hear about what happened last week? No, no, tell me. And it's a good interaction time in that way. If that's a donor, even better. You're taking a tour of the campus. Maybe you've never been here before. Maybe it's been 5 or 10 years, and we've changed some things that we do here because our programs have changed, whether that's mandated laws that have changed. But it's that real feel,
Mhm. I love it.
yeah,
No, I think it's as easy meeting in person, but for those that are also listening, picking up a phone and calling someone.
that's
Saying
huge.
thank you, finding out what's going on. Like, I tell you, I just, taken over this organization and spoke to 2 donors. I mean, of course, sometimes you're speaking to them longer than you want, but there's just one donor, a little older. I got to learn so much more about why he's giving and where our flaws were and what we can do better, and, he's giving me ideas, and I'm like, "Wow, that's actually a really good idea. I never even thought about it." But those ideas don't come if you're not communicating to the people that are actually giving to your organization.
Man,
I had another
yeah.
donor that at first I'm a young guy, right? So people already kind of almost knocked me out of the race because of my age. But as I'm talking to him and I see that he's on my LinkedIn page and he sees that I'm actually who I am, say I am, and he ended up going to his company he works for and getting us another $3,000 grant. Why? Because I was willing to conversate, take the time to figure out what was his needs were, let him know who I was. Relationship building, communication, it doesn't happen overnight, but if someone sees the consistency, I always say people do business with people. If they see the work that you're doing, they're more likely to give. Gene, I know you wanna jump in. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm just, honestly really agreeing with you. And you made me think of that when you said the phone. I'll give away one secret that we do. And it's very effective. So, there's that cultivation part, right? And you're preparing the soil and
Mhm.
you're weeding and doing all the things. But then there's the nurturing. I still got to nurture the
Yeah.
plant, right? And one of the things that we do when the donor gives at a certain level, and it's not a huge dollar amount for us, but when they give over a certain level, every month we collect that data and we pass that information back to our board members. and we have what's called TAPS, and that stands for Telephone Appreciation Program. And our board members then they can sort through those themselves, and they are responsible for, as a board member, calling that donor and saying, the donors already received a letter of thanks. They've received a letter of appreciation for their donation. It's an official tax document as well. But but that one more touch point is to say, hey, this is Joe Schmo. I'm on the board of Children's Home of Stockton, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for your donation. I can see, we give them a bio so they can see the history. I can see you've been giving to Children's Home for a number of years. Thank you very much. We sure appreciate your consistency, all the things. And it also allows that us to retrieve some things back from that donor to say, oh, by the way, they got a new phone number, or they'd rather be contacted this way, or, so
Yeah.
it's a really good touch point.
Yeah, man. I'm learning, Gene, from people like you. Another thing that I thought about, that I like to give secret sauce is join those chamber of commerce people around you, right? Like those are the business owners that also want to be in the community. Clearly, that's why they're there, spreading the word, what you guys are doing, and build relationship building. Man, I was just talking to another board member. He's a president of a foundation, realizing that he's getting $10,000 from an organization that we used to actually also receive funds from. But
Mm.
somewhere that relationship broke, so we're not asking for those funds. No one's asking anymore. So if no one's asking, no one's giving. And I've realized that as well, is that if you want it, you have to also go ask. Don't just wait for it to show up at your table. It's like go out and get it. And I've learned that in my 20s, someone told me that, Ephraim, you are in the asking business, and people have millions of dollars that they want to give away, but you haven't even asked them that yet. So I'm like, "Ah,
One
okay."
of the, I think one of the humps I had to get over in that world, because it's not natural for me in development, or this, I'm more of the marketing approach. I will help you sell the program, no problem. But going and then asking for the dollars is different. And somebody said to me one time, when you're approaching someone who is of means, we'll just put it that way, um, you get maybe worried or scared about what you might say or how much you would think you're going to ask for. And again, don't be apologetic. Sometimes that person would be offended if you didn't ask. And that really changed my mindset. Like,
Wow.
okay, they're sitting out there and they're wondering why one of the oldest organizations in the county has never approached them for money. Well, why, how come? You know, and I think we get that backwards a lot. We think, oh, there's so many nonprofits and they all ask the rich guy for the money, or the organization that donates all the grants, all the grant money in. But you're right. You just got to ask. And,
Yeah.
the worst thing you get is, no, no, I'm good. We're good. We give to we give to the animals, or we give to the, whatever their philanthropic ideal is, right? So
Yeah. No, it happened to I actually that conversation happened to me recently as I took over this organization where a gentleman was already kind of given to another organization, and he says, Ephraim, honestly, I didn't know that you guys were still in existence. I haven't heard from you guys in a very long time. He says, and he's giving like $5,000, $10,000 to this other organization. He's like, I was always willing to give to you guys, but no one's ever asked. Now, this is the gentleman that's on the Hall of Fame that we've given credit to, but we're not tapping into that. Like, and it goes back to sometimes an organization's structure is important. Like, I always say, make sure your house is in order before you ever try to bring somebody else in as well, right? Because you also don't want to bring in donors or bring in new people, and it's just the back end looks like a mess. It's chaos. We're not getting those calls out, right? We're not saying thank yous. We're not getting out tax donation receipts. All that makes a difference. I've also heard some of those things. It's like I was giving, but I don't even get tax receipts. So you know what? I'm not going to give, or I don't know the ROI. No one's sharing a story with me. So, man, you dropped a lot of good stuff, Gene, without even knowing you were dropping gems here today, Gene. I appreciate you, my brother.
well, I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Gene, listen, I know we're up here on time, man, but and I appreciate your time. If we could really speak to those leaders right now that do want to continue to spread the message to their communities, but probably are finding it tough for whatever reason. Maybe it's where we at government wise. Maybe they just don't have the knowledge and experiences that you have from the communication and production standpoint. If someone was to ask you, "Hey, Gene, I need to get better at this," what do you tell them?
Thing I would say is don't overdo it. My wife and I have a little phrase we say, do what's put in front of you. And for me and my work here, that translates into do the relevant thing. When you're marketing, you don't have to post every 5 seconds. You don't need 73 posts a day to put your presence out there and remind people what you do. But when you have something relevant and impactful to share, that could be a staff event. That could be a victory with a kid that we work with. That could be an upcoming event, but be relevant. Um, don't overdo it. That would be my do what's put in front of you.
All right, and I know I said that was it, but I actually had another question because I remember you said it, so I need to know if this is true. You mentioned plant, you mentioned soil. Are you a plant guy?
Not really. No.
You
Matter of
just
fact, I
used the
do not have a
analogy.
green thumb.
Oh,
That's just an
man.
analogy. Sorry.
It was a good one. No, it's good. It's I love plants, so I always like that people use that analogy of the
I love
soil
it.
and all this stuff because I look at it very different. Is that and because I've seen this in life, is that I had a plant that I thought was dead. And I still kind of kept it around in this pot. As soon as I moved into a new house, I put it into a bigger pot, and it came back alive. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that is like
Yeah.
us. Sometimes we're in the wrong environments, and when you put us in environments where we can actually grow and spread our wings, that you'll actually see something that you didn't know was possible, right? Come out of it. So that's
100%.
just how I look at plants, man. I love to see it. Then I had another plant that, as I had my daughter, I bought this plant, and just seeing it kind of grow alongside my daughter, right, and putting
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
pot, all
Cool.
these different things. So when you said that, I'm like, "Oh, he's a plant guy." But then you tricked me, man. You're not a plant guy. You're not a plant guy.
Sorry, friend. Sorry.
No, jokes. Gene, where can people find more information about the organization, about you? Are you on LinkedIn? What's the socials?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. You can find us at chstockton.org. Honestly, the best way is our Linktree address because we have all of our links on there. But so that's also CH Stockton. If you do the Linktree address and then CH Stockton, you'll find all of our links. So
My brother, well, Gene, thank you so much, man, for your time. If you guys are still watching, make sure you guys do go ahead and tap into what Gene is doing at the Children's Home of Stockton. Um, Phenomenal things, and I know this is just not. This is just the beginning, right? You got still so much more to work. You're trying to put yourself out of business, and if you guys want to also help Gene put themselves out of business, make sure you guys check out the website. And I'm Ephraim with Know Your Wrestling. Actually, I'm not Know Your Wrestling. I'm Ephraim with Hardin Hustle Podcast. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.